In Mathcad Prime 11, we now have three different controls over the thresholds for how our results are displayed on our worksheets. Let's take a look at our first example with Star Trek warp factors. Well, in Star Trek, they travel pretty fast. We have our impulse speeds, which are expressed here in terms of kilometers per second, and those are numbers on the order of 10 to the fourth to 10 to the fifth. Then for our warp factors in the original series and the next generation, here you can see the different values for those warp factors. They go from 10 to the fifth to 10 to the eighth. If we go to our math formatting tab in our results group, we now have a control for display of the results in exponential notation. The default value is 3. Let's start cranking that up. If I go to a value of 4, we don't see any change. But if I go to a value of 5, you can see that two of the numbers are no longer displayed in the exponential notation. They are shown with the full value. Let's crank this up again. Oops, wrong way. Let's go to 6, and you can see that more of the numbers are being displayed. And then we can go to 7, and more of the numbers, 8, and then 9. Now everything is in the full number format. And so you can use this on your entire worksheet or for individual results. Let's scroll down to take a look at our second example. So for the next one, we have controls over when our numbers are displayed as a value of 0. So I have this vector. We've got numbers that are 10 to the minus 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And this last one just has a value of 0. If we take a look on the Math Formatting tab, here is the threshold for how small the number has to be before it is displayed as a value of 0. Let's try changing this to 16. Hey, that last value now got changed from 0 to being displayed as 10 to the minus 16. Let's make the number smaller, though. 15, well, we got another 0. 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9. So now this entire vector is just being displayed as values of 0. Let's crank that up a couple numbers. Okay, and for our third one, we have control over when our numbers are displayed as complex results with the real number and the imaginary number. So here I've created a matrix, and so we've got the numbers 1 plus this really, really small number times I, the imaginary fraction. And so that's what we have in our first column. We have our imaginary parts getting smaller and smaller and smaller. In our second column in our matrix, the real part is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, but we've got basically whole numbers times our imaginary number. And you can see that here we just have 7 and 7i. If we take a look in the results group, we have a threshold for complex numbers for when the real and or imaginary parts are displayed for the number. So for the default, that is a value of 10. Let me actually crank this up to, let me select this one. Let me crank this one up to 11. And you can see now we can see the imaginary portion for this particular bottom row in the matrix. But let's try cranking it in the other direction. If I go down to 10, we no longer see the imaginary number here or the real number here. Let me go down even more. You can see, okay, we don't no longer see the imaginary here, and we only have imaginary over there. And if I continue to hit the down arrow, you can see how that affects this matrix. And let's go down to that, and now we just have our numbers, our real numbers, and our imaginary numbers. Let's go back up to the default value for this, which is a default value of 10. And so there you have it. That's how you can control the display of your results with your different thresholds.